Welcome to the first meditation on Session 1, Blessing. A reading from the Gospel according to Mark. In those days, Jesus came from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized by John in the Jordan. And when he came up out of the water, immediately he saw the heavens being torn open and the Spirit descending on him like a dove. And a voice came from heaven, "You are my beloved Son. With you I am well pleased." Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So I begin our Lenten meditation series with a passage on baptism. Well, it's important to remember that Jesus didn't just wake up one day and say, "I'm going to go off into the desert and do something very difficult, challenging." He went out to be baptized by John. And after having been baptized and received the Spirit, he was driven by the Spirit into the desert. So it's important for us also, before we commence our Lenten journey, to take stock of the blessing in our life and orient ourselves for this journey ahead. In this passage, the first image that comes to mind for me is that of John the Baptist. We hear that Jesus was baptized by John. John is his predecessor. He comes before him and he prepares the way for Jesus. What this symbolizes is those who come before us and prepare the way for our spiritual journey. There are many people who act as mentors, who have given us nourishment, who have taught us, and they lead us on the spiritual path. So think of what John symbolizes in this passage for Jesus. Then we hear that Jesus is baptized in the Jordan. And it may pass by as a comment about geography for us, but it wouldn't have passed by a first century Jewish person like those being baptized by John in this same passage. Because the Jordan is rich with a historical significance for the Hebrew people. The image of the Jordan would hearken to a memory of the Exodus and liberation from captivity in Egypt, crossing of the Red Sea. It would also remind them of the entry into the Promised Land through the Jordan. But the Jordan is also an important topographical feature for the land of Israel. It's the largest source of fresh water for the Jewish people in this region. So the symbolism of the Jordan is also all of the same symbolism that we associate with fresh water. Here, think of the things that nourish you in your spiritual life. Then we hear a piece of powerful language. The passage says, "The heavens are torn open." Not the clouds part, but imagery of torn open. This represents the inbreaking of the divine into our daily experience. Think of those times when you've had powerful religious experience of the transcendent realities in your common life. So being on top of a mountain and seeing the majesty of nature, or a beautiful sunset, the birth of a child, even the experience that you might have had in Mass or in a moment of prayer, the inbreaking of the divine to your daily experience. Then we see the image of the dove descending on Jesus. Think of that gentle way in which we are nourished and filled spiritually by the many practices we have in our faith. Praying the rosary, Lenten devotions, fasting, almsgiving. All of these things get us started in thinking about the blessing in our life. But finally, we hear the words to Jesus, "You are my beloved Son." Think of how these words impacted Jesus and oriented his life, sent him forward on his mission. What kind of an impact do these words have on you? Do you recognize that sense of being loved, of being good? Blessing, to say well or to say good, to give a blessing, is to hear that for yourself. You are a beloved child of God. Think what the contrary message does to us in life. If we're told, you're bad, you're not good enough, you're guilty, you're a sinner. How does this orient our life? How do we live differently according to that truth? Think how differently Jesus' mission in life would be if he didn't first recognize, I am a beloved child of God. Using the symbols from these guide points, reflect on your life, that you are also a beloved child of God.